Wants to throw it to Short. He caught it. He's going on a first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, take it down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.
All right. It is Victory Sunday once again. Your Detroit Lions have done it. I don't think for many of us, including myself, that it's really even sunk in yet what our Detroit Lions have done. And I'm going to give it a few moments here before I really get rolling because I'm going on late. There's been a lot of people on already. I'm sure you guys are all talked out of it, right? No, you can't be. There's no way we've heard enough about these Detroit Lions. I got to be honest, man. This game was not only epic. It wasn't as loud as last week, but maybe everyone's voices were still recovering a bit. I don't know. But what an epic matchup. I mean, an evenly matched team. And in the Lions, the difference was the fourth quarter. A few big plays. So I'm going to give it again just a moment. I'm going to welcome some people in here to the chat. We have Sports Talk with Rob as usual. Better the Hunt. Hey, man, how you doing? Bill Collier, Gajan Dusage, Justin G, Braylon Dennis, Charles Lee Thaxton Jr., and Rick Grit. What's up, people? I don't know how a Sunday could be any much better or any more better than what we just witnessed today. Not only being at the game, but even if you're at home, following your Lions this deep into the season is not normal, right? I mean, we're all out of our shell right now. We're not in a comfortable place because we're not used to it. And a lot of people have anxiety over this, and it's weird. It's a good place to be, but at the same time, it's like, we don't belong here. We've never been here before, and we don't know how to take it. So for me, it just hasn't sunk in yet. I don't think. Like, I've gotten a little emotional on my drive home. It was a long drive. I was stuck in the parking garage for over an hour. And I guess I was probably just more ticked off about that because I just wanted to get home. But it just really hasn't sunk in a whole lot that we're going to the NFC Championship game. And I think what really ticks me off is that if those stupid Packers could have just kicked a field goal, we'd be back home again next week. And that would have probably locked us up into an opportunity to, dare I say, head to the Super Bowl. Because right now we're only 2 wins away from having a parade in Detroit. And I'm not going to go that far just yet. We still have a lot of work to do. This is a tough team, going up against the 49ers in their home. And I guess I'm not going to get too off balance here and bring up too many subjects, but the team is a little suspect right now. But here's what I'd like to start off with first. I'll jump back into the chat here in just a moment. But Derek Barnes, a guy that was drafted by Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell in their very first draft, who worked his tail off each and every season, has gotten better each and every season, was probably the best linebacker during training camp, preseason, AG. I mean, talked him up big time all off season and what he was doing, the work he was putting in. And he just really never brought it to the field during regular season. I mean, he had a few good games here or there, where he actually showed up on the stat sheet, but he's also had some, liability plays like the one against Dak and missing that, huge opportunity for a sack. So he's been all over the place, and man, did he just redeem himself. but not only redeem himself, he also showed who he is and the hard work that he put in, because he got into a perfect coverage situation, dropped back. He read Baker Mayfield's eyes the whole way. Baker was locked on and he knew exactly where he was going with that ball, and Barnes brought it down. So congratulations to Derek Barnes. Epic play at epic time. We needed it. That sealed this game. And Ford Field erupted, man. I've never seen it like this. I mean, there was people crying and hugging and laughing, and I mean, popcorn and pop going everywhere. I mean, it was just nuts. It was. I think it was more incredible than last week, the celebration, but I think the game last week was definitely more amped up from the fans' perspective. So, all right, Sports Talk with Rob says, let's go. Better the Hunt says, oh boy, here we go to Frisco. Bill Collier says, what's up, Will? And Gajan Desage says, man, this is a dream. I hope it's not, because if I wake up and this is all a lie, I'm going to be upset. Justin G says, hey, oh, Will. Braylon Dennis says, Derek freaking Barnes. Yeah, you hit that nail right on the head. Charles says, I'm so hyped up. Let's go from Louisiana or Louisiana. Sorry, I can't roll my O and my U sometimes. Sports Talk with Rob says, I said it yesterday. Our defense make plays when we need it. And it seems like we're a liability. How about CJ Gardner-Johnson? He's stepping up, getting his first pick in the game. He's really stepping up. So he's, now into his third game. He's incrementally gotten better and more comfortable every single game. He's playing at an elite. I can't even talk right now. He's playing at an elite level right now. Hokido says, I haven't seen anything like this in 32 years. I haven't either. The last time that this has happened, correct me if I'm wrong, 1991, was it the 91-92 season? Barry Sanders' third season, they never made it back. And that, matter of fact, I remember that from the movie that did Bye Bye Barry, where they were talking about that and how they were putting all that on Eric Kramer, and like it was all his fault, or whatever, this as the story goes. But that's the last time that we've been this far, this deep in the playoffs since 1957 or 1991-92, whatever season that was. I was 11 years old. I barely remember that. So, yeah, long time coming. Justin G says, let's talk about the toughness and accountability and defensive call-out CJ Gardner-Johnson has made since returning. I hope we keep him. I do too, man. I think that he wants to play for Detroit. I think that he loves being in Detroit. I think that he's tied to AG, and he may follow AG, and I'm worried about that, and I'll get to that after the season. I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to start stoking the flame. I don't want to put any negative energy on what we got going on right now, but just put that feather in your cap till after the season and ask me then. Shandubi says, my look has always been, we aren't supposed to win, but we totally can. That's interesting. CD Deuce is on fire. Iffy is a beast. Frank freaking Ragnow, what a warrior. Let me get to that one. So I did listen to Frank on the way home, and I got to tell you, he said something tonight that really just made me kind of sink and like, wow, this guy gets it. Like he really understands Detroit. He understands this fan base. He understands who we are, where we've been, what we've been waiting for. And I don't know if you caught it. Maybe go back and rewind it and listen to it. But he said something similar to this. I don't want to be the guy that gets paid and then doesn't live up to it. He felt that when he got injured tonight, he had to get back in the game. He had to finish and he had to fight, not only for his team, but for us as fans and for the city. Because he just got paid a couple of years ago, a huge amount of money. He feels like he owes something to us. Who says this stuff? Like that, I mean, was the most incredible thing I think I've heard from an athlete that's making, tens of millions of dollars that actually cares. It's almost like he's ready to write a check back for not playing well. If I could go off that deep, but man, It really resonated with me. And I felt for Frank because he is a warrior. I mean, this dude has been battling this foot thing. And I spoke to my dad on the phone on the way home about Frank specifically and how the injury, he had a real good tape job and a wrap and was able to get back in the game. And I guess according to the surgeons, he was okay, but we don't know what that's going to be like come tomorrow when, the swelling and everything kicks in and what that's going to mean for next week. Be that as it may, I don't know if Frank is going to be able to make it another few years. I don't know if he's going to get another contract or want to get another contract because, he's set. He's set for life. He's got a pretty good YouTube channel, the fishing thing he loves doing. I'm sure he'll go off and do something outdoorsy. But I don't know if that foot's going to hold up for him. And I don't know how much he can battle that kind of pain and how much longer he's going to be able to do it. So we really need to enjoy and embody the person that Frank is and what he brings to this team and how he fights for this city and how much this really means to all of those guys. They're doing it for us. They're doing it for themselves, but they're doing it for us too. James Burgess says, this is exactly what he said. Frank was a Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame caliber tonight. He was, man. Gajan Desage says, Frank's awesome. Better the Hunt says, now we see the type of players Campbell has brought in and also retained. Great point. Really great point. Braylon Dennis says, I really thought we lost him when he got hurt. Gazan Desage says he's got an awesome podcast. He does. I love watching his outdoor stuff. I used to fish a ton. There wasn't a day that would go by in the summertime you wouldn't find me out on a boat. I haven't done much fishing the last few years, but I used to fish almost every day. Braylon Dennis says, I understand, Frank. Toe injuries are no freaking joke. Yeah, it's the toe. It's also that plantar plate. The plantar plate underneath, it's like, I don't know how to show you, but like your toes, you got this plate and there's no cartilage. It's not repairable. They can't do anything with it. It's done. So he's living with that pain literally every single day of his life. And then he goes out and plays football on it. And I'm sure that the defensive tackles across from him are not intentionally stepping on his feet, right? All right. So what else did I want to talk about here? Let's talk about some stats for a moment. Because that's what I love to do. Pretty evenly matched team, man. Passing first downs, 18 apiece. Rushing first downs, 4 for the Bucks, 5 for the Lions. First downs from penalties, the Lions got 3, the Bucks had 1. Third down efficiency, Bucks were about 25%. So were the Lions. Fourth down efficiency, both were 1 for 1, 100%. Total plays, Lions 71 to their 60. Total yards, Lions 391 to their 408. Again, just like really even. When you look at all of these stats, they're like really, really even. The Bucks edged us out in passing tonight, and that was because we finally were able to run the ball later in the second half. And then we were also able to pass the ball even more later in the second half. It finally opened up. It looked like the Bucks were just gassed. They looked tired. They just looked mentally and emotionally and physically drained there in the fourth quarter. And the Lions were able to kind of have their way with them there, probably the last 10 minutes of the game. Rushing, Lions put up $114. What did I say? What did I say on Friday? I said that the Lions would keep them to 90 yards or less. I think it was 90. Maybe it was 99. I think it was 90. 89 yards for the Bucks. Rushing attempts, they only attempted to rush 15 times to the Lions 26. But man, how about Goff tonight? Again, putting this team on his shoulders. Didn't fear this defense at all. He got put on the ground a few times pretty hard. And he was slinging it, man. He had a rocket launcher on his shoulder tonight. Just slinging the ball where it needed to go. He took some wild shots. He took some risky shots. He laid a beautiful fade to St. Brown in the end zone. Just picture perfect fade. The thing just glid right up into the corner. Incredible accuracy by Goff. And he's so well known for his accuracy. Rick Grit says, gonna have to switch to my phone. Wi-Fi is acting up. All right, well, we'll see you back in a minute. Because Desage says, me and Walleye are 1-1. That's funny. That's the one fish that I have not caught a lot of in my life. I have not caught a lot of walleye. I guess I target bass in muskie. So I like target the hardest fish to catch and then the easiest fish to catch. or if we go deep sea fishing, then it's kind of whatever's happening. Jazzbo Pilot of Chatsville. That's a new name. Welcome in. The team adopts Dan's passion, which can move mountains. Look, these guys will run through a brick wall, man. And that was the whole thing with putting up this purple brick wall. One, it was the only wall that I could find for a background. And two, it was, emblematic of last week's show on Friday of these Lions were getting ready to run through another brick wall. And to your point, Chatsville, look, that's what this team is all about. They're all about, the grit that they started with. And by the way, I'll have to share this book. Matter of fact, I'll tell you guys right now. Since I mentioned grit and this just popped in my head. I was watching a podcast the other day. I think it was Pat McAfee. And he had Chuck Pagano on. And they were talking about grit and what that means. And talking about the Lions and Dan Campbell. And where this all started was this book by Angela Duckworth called Grit. And you can buy it right now on Amazon for about $20 in the paperback form. Of course, if you have the Amazon whatever membership for books, you can get it for free. The e-reader book. But I'm gonna get this book and read it at some point because that's what this is all about. That's what this Dan Campbell grit thing is all about. There's a lot of passages in this book that when I get it, I'll read it and share it with you guys. That's where this came from. And so again, to everybody's point in here, it's these Lions were ready to run through brick walls for Dan, for this city. He mentioned in the press conference that, there's like a kinship between these players in the city, in this fan base and how they feel personally responsible to do it for us, and again, always for the city. So what Dan has brought, many people kind of rubbed against him and made it out to be some big joke, made fun of Dan Campbell, the meathead. Well, they screwed up because now they all look dumb for what is now probably one of the best coaches in the league for many reasons. But the one that matters the most is that his players love him. They love who he is, what he's about, that he's always the same guy, always the same energy, which is 1,000% every day. And when your players feel that way, they're going to do like what they did tonight, like they did last week. Take on the biggest challenges, no matter how big, and just get through it and keep fighting. And they're injured or they're hurt in a game, and they're going to try to get back in, and they're going to keep fighting, and they're going to win. So to have this finally in Detroit, we don't have the locker room issues. We thought that there was some there, for a minute with the whole Kirby thing that I got on tape. And it could have been a whole lot of nothing. We really don't know. But from what I see from these players and what you hear from these players and the coaches, they love, what all of these guys are doing. Ben Johnson, AG, Mark Brunell. Mike Disner just pulled his name back out of the GM contest, if you will. He was in the running for a GM position. I think it was with the Titans or the Jaguars or Panthers or somebody. And he pulled his name back out and said, nope, I'm staying in Detroit. When you got guys like that want to stay and they don't want to go anywhere, that tells you something. It tells you that they want to finish what they started together. Will that happen with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? I doubt it. But it is what it is. We've got guys behind them. Rush Fan says, Gibbs is unbelievable. What a great pick. And I'm glad you said that because I posted something during the game when Gibbs ran that one, what looked like about a 25-yard run. Just through the holes, getting through traffic, beating, a couple of tackles. And I posted, Yeah, you don't pick running backs at number 12. You just don't, right? Just like how you don't take, tight ends as early as you did when you took Sam Laporta. You just don't do those things. Again, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are making the national media look dumb because they go against the grain and do it their way. They will go get their guys no matter where they are. Doesn't matter how early you pick them. If those are their guys that they've identified as their guys, they're going to take them. And let all the other talking heads talk, because now you're seeing what's going on in the field. And these guys are winning. And they're doing great. I mean, breaking big records. Mike D says, priceless game. Our boys on beast mode. Let's go Lions. I think we're going to take the 49ers with their top wide receiver out. Do you? All right, let's talk a little 49ers action. Man, you guys got tons of chats coming in here. Donnie Knapp says, saw you in section 104, 105. Yep, that's where I was. I was in 111. Beautiful moment in Michigan sports history. Grateful you have created this platform. Let's go. Yeah, I was with Derek. Derek joined us tonight. My dad was gracious enough to give up his seat, and we were able to get it to Derek. So it was a great moment for everybody to be able to share, and it was an incredible game to watch, and it was just incredible. So before I talk on the 49ers, speaking of these moments in this platform, it's done a lot. I do it just out of the passion. I do it because I love it. I love sports. I love statistics, analytics, the metrics, the KPIs, all of it. I love all that stuff. But the Lions is why I'm here, and how I've been a lifelong fan. I've season tickets for 22 years. Been watching ever since I was 4 years old when I went to my first game. And I sat down in my seat a couple hours early, before the game started. And a new guy sat next to me I've never seen before. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe the season ticket holder sold his seat or something, and whatever. He's like, Will. And so I looked to my left, and he's like, you're Will. And I said, yeah. He's like, with the Rock Down Detroit Lions. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I've seen your stuff. My name's so-and-so, and I live in New Mexico. And I just was blown away that, this guy flew in all the way from New Mexico, has never lived in Michigan, and has been a Detroit Lion fan his whole life. And here he is sitting next to me, and he just so happened to watch some of the content. Small world. What are the chances? 1 in 70,000 he sits next to me. So what a cool moment to share with a fellow Lions fan, and I did invite him to come on the show at some point to tell us his story. I think it's a great story, and he was a great guy, man. He had a great time, and our whole section was having a good time. So I don't know any news on Jonah Jackson or Brock Wright. You guys know as much as I do, and probably more. I can only tell you what Dan Campbell said, and it doesn't look good for either of those two. I was a little surprised, like I'm sure many of you were, about James Houston not getting the go today. Last week I said that I was hesitant. I didn't think it would happen. I wish I didn't say that, because I think that we could have used him tonight. And I definitely think that we can use them against the 49ers. But Dan and AG, they know best. So whatever they're doing it right, because we're winning. Braylon Dennis, Brock Wright did get hurt. I'm not sure when. I just know he got hurt. You guys would know more than us, because when you're at the game, it's tough. It's tough to keep track of all that stuff. You don't see it all. There's really no announcements. So unless you see it coming off the field, or you see him go in the tent, or down to the tunnel, there's really no announcements unless you're seeing something on the field. So he must have gotten hurt and just came off the field right away, because I didn't see him on the ground. All right, let's talk 49ers for a minute. Brock Purdy had a rough game this last game. And quite honestly, the Packers should have won that game. So when I say that I feel like we have a great opportunity, we have a great opportunity. If we can get to Brock Purdy, he's probably one of the easiest guys to rattle. When he gets rattled, he throws some ducks. He was throwing a lot of bad balls versus the Packers, and that's because they were getting some pressure. And it wasn't just the pressure like we get. We get tons of pressure, but we're not getting, pressure getting to the quarterback type pressure. So we do have to be able to dial it up against that team because they have too many weapons, and Christian McCaffrey is a dog. So we might have one of the best run defenses, but you even saw it tonight that our run defense was getting gashed at times. So I'm hoping that James Houston comes back. He's able to get in, his 15, 20 snaps, whatever it is, primarily on third down. If it is primarily on third down, I hope it doesn't kind of throw off what we're doing and kind of give the sign to the 49ers that he's coming every single play and to just throw it to that side of the field or run to that side of the field. And I think that's the key. It's a scheme thing. If you start putting guys in and what we're going to run, it just becomes too vanilla, too easy to read. But I really feel like the Lions have a great chance at shutting down the run. I think McCaffrey's still probably going to get 80 yards at least. It's just, can we stop the rest of their potent offense? That's going to be the ticket. And we're going to dive more into that, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday night for sure. We got 3 shows lined up this week. And that all depends on if we're traveling or not. So I know Derek's trying to go. You guys did an excellent job. Those of you that were in his show, really helping him out, man. He really wants to go. I want to go too. I just don't know if it's going to happen or not. We'll see. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like I've always said, I'd rather be at the Super Bowl. But anyway, if there's traveling, I don't know how the rest of the shows are going to line up this week. I would say Thursday would probably be the last one. So tonight, does anyone want to call in? If you do, send it in the chat and I'll open up the phone lines. Otherwise, I plan on doing some more shows this week, like tomorrow night. It's a little bit late tonight to go forever. I've had a long day of travel and my voice is pretty much gone already. Let me get to some of your chats here. Better the Hunt said, can Campbell still get Coach of the Year? I would hope so. I don't know if that's already been voted on. It might have been. It might have been voted on at the end of the season, and it doesn't come out until the awards ceremony, and I'm not real sure when that happens. But look, if it hasn't been voted on, how can this guy not get it? And if it's only voted on during the regular season, I don't really know who else is more deserving than Dan Campbell. I mean, he just took a team. And you guys have heard me say this. We gutted more than 85% of our team since the roster of 2020. We have the 4th youngest team in the league right now. I think it's the 4th. We had like the 1st or 2nd youngest team the first 2 seasons that he coached. And he went from a piss poor team to 3-13-1, to 9-8, and now, 12-5 in the regular season. 14-5, 2 playoff wins, and we're going for the NFC Championship in his 3rd season. I would have, dared say last season he probably could have deserved it for the amazing turnaround and comeback that this team displayed. But this season, I don't see that there's anyone else that's even close to Dan Campbell. I just can't say that I wouldn't be surprised if he lost, because that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes for the Detroit Lions. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. James Burgess says, I'll skip that one. You're responding to somebody. Braylon Dennis says, Ben Johnson needs to stay. Aaron Glenn can kick rocks. Here's the thing about Aaron Glenn. And I know that we're kind of back and forth on him. There's some games, man, he really dials up a great game plan, and these guys will play lights out. It's probably also the competition, that we're going against maybe is quite inferior to what we have, with the young team that we do. But tonight, this team made plays when we needed to. I don't know who said that in the chat earlier, but that's exactly what happened today. And it seems to be the theme throughout the season. I would love to see consistency. We're not seeing consistency out of some of the players. I feel like this is more of a personnel issue than it is just an AG issue, because we have Cam Sutton, who's almost 700 yards he's given up in receiving the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's darn near bottom barrel as far as PFF grade and passer rating. I think he's given up like 118 or 113. I mean, he's just making these guys look like all-stars. And I get it. He's going up against some really good receivers. Jefferson twice, Evans, Godwin, Puka Nacua. I mean, you name it. He's gone up against some studs. CeeDee Lamb. But that's where a number one cornerback, if you really are worth $11 million a year and you really are a number one cornerback, you should be able to step up to these guys and step up to the challenge and meet it head on and shut these guys down. Maybe not every time, but not lose 5 times in a row. So again, I think that the AG thing kind of a little blown out of proportion, maybe. There's definitely times where there's some pretty terrible calls made, but we don't know what the call was or how the guys, performed what that call was supposed to be on the field. They are allowed to change things within the scheme. And at times, maybe they're playing out of the scheme, or maybe they misunderstood what the play was. So I don't know. I'm 50-50. I think that Aaron Glenn definitely has the makings of being a great coach. And I think that he has the makings of being a great defensive coordinator if he has the right personnel. But then the other 50 tells me, if everybody had the right personnel, wouldn't they be a great coach? So it can go both ways. I think you understand what I'm trying to say there. All right. Grit says, I doubt MCDC cares about the Coach of the Year award anyway. He's got his eyes on the Lombardi. You're darn right he does. I don't think he cares about personal accolades. He wants this team in this city to hoist that Lombardi. Great point, Grit. I appreciate that. Common Sense says, don't want to talk about the offseason, but our success will bring quality free agents next year. We are a destination station. This is a destination spot. This city is going to bring in some high-profile players. And I'll stamp it. I guarantee it. There's going to be guys knocking on our door. It's just whether or not we're going to be able to afford them and still be able to pay and keep everybody that we need to take care of. We still have a few players that we can, allow a year or more to go. Like, I don't think we have to pay him on around next year. I think he's up in 2025. But the talk still has been paying him this next year, which I almost think you have to because of the way he's performed. But at the same time, he signed a contract. He performed well. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we kind of got what we paid for, but a heck of a lot more. I think the Lions would do right by him by giving him an extension early, though. Rick says, what's disturbing about Sutton is he isn't getting beat right off the line. He can't even be physical on the line, let alone cover the man on man. It's a good point. He's 5'11", 180 or 5'10", 185 pounds. And to me, that is a great slot corner size. I have always felt that your number one stud cornerback should be no less than 6 foot, borderline 6'2". Closer to 195 pounds, long arms, decent frame, 4.35, no less than 4.4 speed. To be able to hang with some of these receivers, you almost have to be able to run backwards faster than you are running forward. The problem is, you're right. He's allowing guys to get behind him, and we're not even keeping guys in front of us. I think it's a scheme thing. We are in way too much man on man, and it almost feels like we should be in some sort of a zone to allow Cam to play better. I think that his strength is more in his zone scheme than it is in man on man. Why not split the difference? You can run man on man with some of the other guys, and you can run zone on some of the other side. Teams do it all the time. You can do a mixed scheme. So I just think that we're 3 players away still. We still need a shutdown corner. We will slide Cam Sutton to number 2 and then bring in another defensive end, defensive tackle. And this team's well on his way. Still need some help on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to need to bring in a tackle and a guard and somebody that can play center. So in case Ragnow goes down again, that we've got a really good quality backup for the future. Yeah, Travis, we do complain about every corner we have. I mean, Okudah never was given the opportunities to succeed. He was never set up for success. A good corner in this league usually has somebody to learn from. They usually have, a veteran or 2 behind them or alongside of them to learn from. Okudah never had that. Glover and Diggs and Slay, they all left, and Okudah had nobody. So now that we bring in a corner, right? I mean, Branch is learning from a veteran. He has Cam Sutton. He's a great teacher. He's got CD Deuce or CJ Gardner Johnson. Again, a veteran guy, great teacher. Someone that can speak to him, as a veteran leader and show him the ropes. And that's why Branch is playing so well. One, because he's a naturally gifted, talented athlete, but he's also learning from one of the best to do it. And that's what we need. We need a young corner that can come in and learn. Cam can still hold down the number 1. You don't have to put feet to fire with a rookie. And I would prefer it that way, that if we do bring in a rookie, that he doesn't automatically take the number 1 role. Maybe we bring in another veteran, another, guy that's getting his 2nd contract or his 3rd contract that still has some good legs. So we'll see. But you're right. I don't want to get too far ahead of it. We have plenty of time to talk off season in the off season. Yeah, Donnie Knapp. Yeah, thanks, man. My dad's a pretty cool dude for doing that. Southwest Lion 26. Is that a new one? What happened to Southwest Lion 16? I've been critical of AG most of the year, but he's getting the most he can out of the personnel he has, and he's getting better results lately, even with all the yards. I see that. AG, I think if he just had a couple of more players, man, this is a totally different team. And I don't want to detract away from our win. I'm analyzing, some of the things that happened. Mike Evans went off for like 147 yards tonight. So let's talk about some player stats. Jared Goff, 30 of 43, 287 yards, 2 TDs. He was sacked twice. Think he's popping up on my. There we go. 103.5 rating, 65.3 QBR. Not a bad day at the office for Jared Goff. Was only averaging 6.7 yards though. So one of his lowest outputs of the season on yards per average. It's really low for us. I did feel like Ben Johnson was kind of calling a weak game in the beginning. We just weren't. I know Dan Campbell said he wanted to come out and throw the ball and, really go pass heavy with these guys. And we did. And then go back and run the ball later, which is exactly what they did. But it just seemed like we weren't dialing up things, like we normally do. I haven't seen any trick plays. I haven't seen really any off balance plays. And it's a head scratching because Ben Johnson is full of that stuff. I hated how these things play on here all by themselves. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries, 74 yards, 8.2 per average, man. That's a great clip for him tonight. 1 TD, long of 31. I'm pretty sure those 31 yards were the touchdown run. And David Montgomery had a soft night, 10 for 33, 3.3 average, 11-yard run was his long. Yeah, Rick, Branch is definitely not a number 1 corner. He's our nickel. He'll stay there. He does great at the nickel. He can cover the slot, and he's great with those 5 back packages. Jared Goff had 1 run for 6 yards tonight. He got the slide. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it. The giraffe actually slid for once and saved himself. I was jumping up and down in the stands when I saw that today. Craig Reynolds, man. Shout out to Craig tonight, because this guy, the Lions decide to do what they did at the goal line, and they go pass. Then they pull everybody out of the game and they put Craig in, totally throws off Tampa Bay and what they're expecting. And they give it to Craig, who powers it in. So shout out to Craig for getting the touchdown tonight. Amon-Ra St. Brown had his normal night, man. 8 receptions, 77 yards in a TD. Again, that beautiful corner fade by Jared Goff, dropped it in the bucket. It's a perfect pass. Sam Laporta, big night for him tonight. 9 receptions, 65 yards. I know it doesn't sound like a big night, but for a tight end, 65 yards is a big night. And I mean, that's just like Sam Laporta's average this season. It seems like he's just 65 is nothing to him anymore. But 9 balls. He broke a record tonight, and it was the most receptions in a playoff game for a rookie tight end when he reached 8, which he eclipsed it with 9. So he broke yet another NFL record tonight in the playoffs. So shout out to Sam Laporta for doing Sam Laporta things. Jahmyr Gibbs, he caught 4 balls for 40 yards. I mean, he had a great game tonight. You know, all-purpose yards. He has 114 yards all day and 1 TD. So it was a Jahmyr Gibbs kind of night. I said it on Friday. I think I also said it on Thursday morning, that I felt Jahmyr Gibbs was more well-fitted for this game against this Tampa Bay defense. I felt that the outside zone was going to work a lot easier for us, because in the middle, as you saw, Vita Vea, Levante David, Kalijah Cansey, they wreaked havoc during, most of this game in the middle of our offensive line. I mean, those guys, Vita Vea, my dad said this, made Frank Ragnow look small. That's how big Vita Vea is. But they wreaked havoc in the middle of our offensive line tonight. It was tough, for Montgomery to run, between the tackles or, center guard gaps, and just didn't have much success. But Jahmyr Gibbs, utilized in the outside zone, even running off of or inside of the tackle at times, was able to break a few runs tonight, and that big one for 31 yards. What do we got going on in the chat here? Sean Round says Evans went off, Jefferson went off, Nakua went off, Lamb went off, but they all lost in the end, so I don't see a massive problem. I hear you. Winning covers, the poo, so to speak. I've had this analogy. I don't know if I've ever said it, but you can take a pile of dog poop and wrap it in gold foil, but on the inside of that gold foil, it's still dog poop. And I'm not saying Cam Sutton's dog poop, but that's what winning does. Winning is like that gold foil. You're wrapping it around that dog poo, and it still smells like poo, right? It's still poo when you open it up. So what I'm saying about Cam Sutton is, yes, all of those guys went off. Here's what happens when you have a Christian McCaffrey on your team too. Then what happens? Because we might let one guy go off, but what happens if the other guy starts to go off? Because the teams that we've faced have not had a Christian McCaffrey and a Deebo Samuel and everybody else that they got on the team. Injury-wise, I have no idea who's injured for the 49ers right now. Someone mentioned their top wide receiver is out, but I'll get into more of that, like Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday night. So that's all I'm saying is we can't let, these top wide receivers get loose and expect to win every single game. Kerry Krups, the Deebo is out. That is a big one. Is he on IR out, or is he just out this week? Man, that's big news. That is big news. All right, so the rest of the Lions wide receivers. So when we spoke on this on Friday and Thursday, I said the last time that these two teams went head-to-head in Week 6, Jared Goff passed the ball to 10 guys. Tonight, he hit 8. 8 guys caught a pass tonight. Shout out to JMO, man. JMO played a tough, scrappy game tonight. He was getting his blocks in for us. Caught a couple of nice passes right at the right time. Brock Wright, man. That guy's like that play that happened tonight. Derek and I both kind of said it. It was the same play or similar play that he scored on that long touchdown last season. But Brock Wright, man, he's like slow, but he's like deceptively fast. Slow, but deceptively fast. I don't know if that makes any sense, but he looks like he's going nowhere. But for whatever reason, he was able to fake out a couple of defenders tonight. It was funny. Yeah, Braylon, I love Brock Wright too, man. He's crazy. He's crazy funny. What he does on the field, it makes no sense. But he seems to do it when we need it most. Jason Kabida even got in the action tonight. He caught one pass for no yards, but he got in on the action. Brian Branch was our leading tackler, 9 tackles, 8 solo, 1 sack, 2 TFLs. That's a typical Branch kind of night. Ifiatu Melifonwu was our second leading tackler, 9 total, 6 solo, 1.5 sacks, and 1 TFL. Alex Anzalone, he was 6 total, 5 solo. Aiden Hutchinson, decent night, 4 tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, 1 TFL. Man, I saw him get tackled a couple of times from the offensive line. No flags. Jalen Reeves-Maben, he was in on the other half of the sack tonight and had 3 tackles. So overall, I mean, we had a good night, right? We won the game. To your point, whoever had mentioned that earlier, we won the game. And yes, it kind of covers up the deficiencies, but now we're stepping it up into, the next phase. I mean, with every game we play, the competition is getting better. There's no room for error. We cannot have any mistakes. We have to play clean football. Jared Goff is going to need a clean pocket. But the one thing that I love, and that's what we've had, is this nucleus of an offensive line that has been able to help keep Goff clean. And now we're missing somebody. And when Jonah Jackson was out for the 4 or 5 weeks that he was out this season, our running attack disappeared. Completely disappeared. So I'm a little nervous. Now, Awosika stepped in and did an okay job tonight. He didn't, let a whole lot happen to Goff. We're going up against the 49ers, and I'm a little bit worried that, if Jonah Jackson is not able to go, we could be in a little bit of trouble, in the running game. But we'll see. And yes, to your point, Travis, San Francisco is definitely beatable. I wholeheartedly believe that. And before I jumped in tonight, I threw out a community post, and I said, man, do the Lions finish where they started? Here's what I mean by that. We started off with the Chiefs. We beat the Chiefs. This almost looks like it could line up to be a Lions and Chiefs Super Bowl. Now, I don't want to skip a game. I'm just saying I could see that. I could see the Chiefs playing spoiler, knocking Lamar out of the Super Bowl run that he's on. I mean, they've been playing great ball for a long time. It's bound to happen at some point. You're just gonna, crap the bed, and that could be against the Chiefs, which has always been Lamar's, kryptonite, if you will. So I could see the Chiefs somehow limping their way into the Super Bowl again. And then there you go. You got the Lions taking on the Niners. We get past the Niners, and we finish the season where we started. Now, I'm not going to say whether we win that game or not, but here's how deep off I went into it. Everyone's been talking about the Super Bowl logo, how it's purple and reddish or whatever. In the last few seasons, the color has been like the Super Bowl teams. And I guess the most dominant color is the one who loses. So what does blue and red make? Purple. Look at all of the different color configurations you've had in the last, 4 games or 8 games, whatever it's been now. They pretty much blend to make some sort of purplish color. It's kind of weird. So blue Lions, red Chiefs, blend them together. Makes purple, makes sense. Now, I'm not going to go deep off into the whole conspiracy about the NFL. That's for you guys to, dance in your heads with. I'm not going to do that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Southwest Line 26 says he or she, I'm not sure who that is, thinks that it's a Ravens kind of year. I said it the same earlier. I thought that the Ravens, they're for real. They're legit. They've had an incredible season. They've beat everybody, just about everybody that matters. And at some point, though, they just might get spoiled. They might just have a bad game, and that could be this next week. Auteur says Greg Warner, the script is in for 2024. The Lions Chiefs bookend the NFL 2024 season. Great story. Taylor Swift cries and goes off into the sunset with Travis. DC is given a monument in Detroit. That's great. Yeah, as long as Kadarius Toney is playing, yeah, he'll drop every ball, it seems like. I think I'm almost over this whole sinus infection I've had now for 2 weeks. Almost there. Hopefully I didn't pick up another one tonight in the stadium. All right, fire at me a few questions, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight, and then I'll jump back on tomorrow. I'm probably going to be going live a lot this week, try to get some videos in, get back to work here, because I've been off. I haven't really been doing a whole lot, just kind of recovering. So let's fire off a few questions. What do you guys want to talk about? And then we'll call it a night for tonight. Yeah, that was a brutal loss for Buffalo, man. Another field goal, just like those stupid Packers, man. We could have been playing at home this next weekend, and they couldn't even hit a field goal. I mean, that to me would have been an epic matchup again. Having the Packers come to Ford Field, I think it would have been great. And that's something I want to mention, because I didn't get to share that with you guys, is when I watched that game, I could have sworn that was Aaron Rodgers inside Love's jersey. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch some highlights after you jump off of this. Because if you go back and look at his shimmy and his stutter and the way that he would set, and he does this weird square in before he threw, it's exactly what Rodgers does. The off balance 1 foot throw, exactly what Rodgers does. It looks identical. Now, I know he trained under Rodgers for a few seasons, but it's pretty hard to mimic those moves. They become natural, and it looked just too natural. It looked just like Aaron Rodgers out there. So, man, that scares me, because I wrote Love off after the first time, and I believe week 4, we kicked the crap out of him. He had a terrible, terrible game. And he's come roaring back. So whatever they're doing over there in Green Bay, they're doing it right. Yeah, the back foot throws. Yep, you got it, Sean. Identical to Rodgers. But it was more than that, man. The sidearm, the flick, the flutter pass. I mean, everything that he was doing. Certain quarterbacks do certain things. Everybody has their signature moves. Matt Stafford always had the best sidearm. He was doing that way before Patrick Mahomes. But then, for whatever reason, Patrick Mahomes, got talked about more than Stafford, because Stafford was in Detroit. But every quarterback has their signature stuff. And when you look at Love, man, it looks like he's got all of Rodgers' signature moves. Auteur says weather's going to be 65 and sunny on Sunday in San Fran. Goff has played there many, many times. He has. This is a family-friendly event for Jared Goff. So hopefully we have a lot of family and friends and Lions fans in the stadium. We got this. Destiny can be felt early sometimes. Travis, that's right. Yeah, the Packers aren't in the playoffs. No, they're not. What I was saying is they needed to make that field goal to come and play us in the next game for the NFC Championship. But they didn't. They missed their field goal, and they let the 49ers come back and win. Stafford had the no-look pass. He absolutely did. And the sidearm. Absolutely. Well, hey, look, it's been a wonderful day, man. It's been a long day. We got another one. We got a question that just came in, I think. Sean says, no, that we have gotten this far. Are we willing to pay Goff 50 to 55? You're going to do this to me before the end, buddy? All right. I know that there's a lot of people all over the place on Jared Goff. And I've always stayed true on Jared Goff. I've said it from the beginning in 2021, watch out, because I compared his numbers to Stafford when he was coming to Detroit, and they were like mirror images of each other, almost identical everything. And so when everyone was saying, oh my God, we got this trash quarterback coming to Detroit, he's a bridge quarterback, we're going to, draft somebody, Goff's no good, blah, 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 blah. And then you lose a bunch of games. I mean, Goff went through it all. He had no weapons that first year. He had nothing, no arsenal. So, of course, he felt the wrath of Detroit fans, rightfully so. We had a terrible season, but it wasn't all him. Where am I going with this? I knew the type of quarterback that we had in Jared Goff. It was just whether or not Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes were going to give him the characters that he needed to fill out this roster, to go build that arsenal and build the relationships and do exactly what we're doing right now, which is playing winning football. And if you put Jared Goff in a good situation, if you put any quarterback in a good situation behind a solid offensive line, they're going to play well. And Jared Goff had all the tools. Now, he may not be able to make every single throw, right? I mean, he doesn't have the sidearm flick of a Stafford. He does have a no-look pass. Tonight, we've seen the touch pass. He does have a deep ball when he plants his foot and actually drives through the ball. I would say maybe there's a throw or two he can't make, but that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. His leadership is by far and away his best quality. His intelligence, his football IQ, his understanding of the game and reading a defense, are probably a notch above that. Goff is here to stay. So 50 to 55 million. I think 50 is the ceiling for Goff right now. I don't think that he's going to. If Goff is who I think he is, I don't think he's going to try to bankrupt the Detroit Lions from not being able to build the team. I think that he has so much more to prove to everybody and wants to prove it in Detroit, for Detroit, with Detroit. I'm not saying he's going to take a cheap hometown discount. I would be extremely baffled if he did that, because one, it's not needed. And two, it's welcomed, but it's not needed. I just don't think he would. I think that he'll give a marginal discount, which would be about 45, 43 million a year. But I think 50 is the ceiling. I think that if you sign him for 3 seasons at 45 million a year, I'm good with that. You give him more guaranteed money that has, perks built in for playoff wins, NFC championships, and Super Bowls. I'm good with all that. I think Jared Goff's here to stay for probably 3, 4, or 5 more seasons, at least under contract. Now, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't become trade bait at some point. Hendon Hooker's going to be an excellent backup. I do know that. He's going to be an excellent quarterback in this league. He's going to give us, a lot of what Goff doesn't have. And that's great. It's great for training camp. It's great for the look team. It's great to have as a backup. And there's nothing wrong with that. I still think that Hendon Hooker's a great quarterback. I absolutely do. It's just Goff. He has this team running very well. And you don't want to upset that apple cart, especially when we're about to lose Ben Johnson. You need your quarterback to continue to lead this offense and the style of offense that we run, the style of plays, the playbook, everything. You don't want to just throw both of it away. You'd be starting all over again, not just with an offensive coordinator and a quarterback. Yeah, you might as well wind us back to 2021, because that's where we're going to be, starting all over again. So I don't think that's where we go. I think that this team is ready to make a good run for many years. And I don't think they're going to make me out to be a liar on this one. I think that Brad Holmes has done an excellent job building this team the right way. And we're seeing it. We saw it tonight. We saw it last week. And we saw it during the regular season. And I hope we see it again this Sunday. So, all right, y'all. It's been a blast. But I'm going to get some rest. It's been a long day. I appreciate y'all jumping in. I definitely did not expect about 120 people to join the live stream tonight, but it's much appreciated. And you guys are always the best sponsors and supporters of this channel. And I can't thank you enough. So I truly do it from the bottom of my heart, man. And from one loyal Lions member and fan to another, I really appreciate you guys. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. We'll see y'all throughout the week. And let's go One Pride. Let's go Detroit Lions. Let's go get another one. NFC Championship is our next stop in the Santa Clara, I believe is where Levi Stadium is. We'll be there next Sunday. Let's go get another W, all. Good night.